Welcome to this introduction to Microsoft Excel. So Microsoft Excel is another Microsoft program. We've already learned Word, and you're going to notice some things look very similar to Word. For instance, we have the ribbon at the top, and we have all of those little tabs, some tabs that even have the same names as previously. For instance, we have a page layout tab where we can set our margins and do the page orientation. We also have a home tab, and you'll see the exact same clipboard group, font group that includes all of your font formatting and even your borders button, your shading button, and your font color button, just like you're used to. There are alignment buttons, although we have a couple of different ones in here, such as wrapping the text and merge and centering cells. We can also rotate cells around like this with this button. And then we have a special little area called the number format. And then some of these are all completely new for you. But we're going to talk about just some terminology. This is just an introduction meant to help you learn some of the words that we're going to use with regards to Microsoft Excel. So these little boxes that you see are called cells, not unlike the cells in your body, but they are just little boxes. Each cell has what we call a cell reference or an address. So notice that when I'm clicked here, this is cell A1, or if I come over here, this is J1. And right here, this little thing is called the name box. It'll tell you the name of the cell. So again, if I come over here to M2, it'll say M2 in that little box. That means that's column M and row 2. So what you're going to notice is columns are vertical and rows are horizontal, like so. Okay, so we have cells that develop into columns and rows. We also have what are called worksheets and workbooks. So notice when we open an Excel document, it automatically calls it book 1. So an open document is a workbook. A workbook, just like a book in the same math class, consists of worksheets. And so it starts off with sheet 1, but if I hit this plus sign, I can add additional sheets. And I can name those sheets by just double clicking and typing in a name and pressing enter. It's as simple as that. So you can have multiple worksheets in the workbook. All right, so we've gone over the name box. The formula bar is here. Wherever you happen to be clicked, that will appear in the formula bar. If I click somewhere and begin typing, notice it's also typing in the formula bar. And you can click in the formula bar to edit, just as you can click in the cell to edit. To accept what's in the cell, press enter. And that's how you can get that in there. Now, if you start typing something and you change your mind, you can just press escape on your keyboard, and that is completely undoes whatever was in that cell. To delete the contents of a cell, simply click in the cell and press the delete key on your keyboard. There's no reason to cut it when you can just clear the contents of the cell by pressing the delete key. Okay, cell references and ranges. Let's talk about those. If I'm telling you a cell reference, I'm telling you what cell to go to. For instance, right now we are in G4. That is the reference for this specific cell. A range is a group of cells. So if I were to say to select J2 to J5, you would come here, click and hold, and drag down, and now we have selected the range J2 to J5. That is represented by this. So it has the column and then row, colon, and then the column and row. Now that by itself doesn't do anything. So let's go through why that matters in just a minute. Okay, tab versus enter. When you type something, say I'm typing a number. If I type 1 and I press enter, it goes to the next row. And then if I press 2 and enter, 3 enter, 4 enter, it goes to the next row. However, if I press tab, it goes across, like so. And then once I stop going across with tab, if I hit enter, it'll go to the next row to wherever I started at before I started pressing tab. So that's how that works. Again, to delete contents, simply highlight the area and press the delete key on your keyboard. AutoFit. AutoFit is a special command that we have, it's kind of just like in a table in Word. You simply click between the two columns, or if it was text that was inside of a cell, you would click between the two rows. You have to do it up here in the gray bar though. So if I double click between this A and B here, it automatically fits to whatever the longest entry is in this column, which happens to be A2, worksheet versus workbook. So if I were to go to E, formula bar, which right now is sort of hanging out, if I double click here, then it automatically fits that. Now you can also specify widths by clicking to select the column and right clicking and going to column width. You can also go to the format up here and also go to column width. Same thing with rows if you were on a row. Drag and move. What drag and move means is it's a way of like cutting and pasting without cutting and pasting. So if I have hi and hello here and I want to move that, first off I have to make sure I've pressed enter, then select it, and then point your mouse to it and you're going to get a funny little four-sided arrow. Then you can pick it up and move it wherever you would like it. We can drag and drop like so. Very simply. And that's dragging and moving. And it's just simply a way to cut and paste, but you can pick it up and just scoot it. So if you accidentally type a whole list of numbers and they're in the wrong column, you can just select them all and pick them up and drag and move them. Fill handles. Fill handles are super cool. You can type a pattern and then select your pattern, which is going by ones. Grab a hold of this corner with a plus sign and drag down, and it just fills it in. I can even say day 1, day 2, enter, select day 1 and day 2, grab my fill handle, and it will continue on. Even more excitingly is you can put Sunday and drag down, or you can put January and drag down, and there you go. So that is the fill handle. We can also use the fill handle to copy down formulas and that sort of thing whenever we're dealing with a range of numbers. Auto sum. Auto sum is an automatic way to add numbers, to sum numbers. There's a button up here. This is your auto sum button. You can press the drop down to choose to do various things. So there's sum, average, counting numbers, max and min. Max and min, of course, looking for the highest number and looking for the lowest number. So if I come down here at the bottom of this long list of numbers and click the auto sum button and choose sum, which means to add, it automatically says, hey, do you want to add the numbers here? And it puts basically some little marching ants around that area. That's called a range. That range is G6 to G17, which is correct in this case. So what this sum function that it inserted using AutoSum is it starts with an equal sign. It has some sort of function, and then in parentheses, the range. And when you press enter, it will accept that range. And then you've got, and I've clicked off the wrong thing here, and then you've got your answer, 78. If you need to edit the range, you can still double click the answer to bring back up that sum function or go up here to the formula bar. So maybe I needed to only go to 16. I could fix it, type it in, and notice it highlights a different area. Or of course I can fix it back to where it should be and press enter to accept the change. That's auto sum. If I wanted to count how many numbers were here, which there's 12, I could click this and then choose count numbers. And it's going to count how many numbers instead of adding them together. And there you go, 12. Likewise, I could choose any of the other functions, pressing delete here to get rid of that. I could say find max, which, hey, guess what the max is going to be? 12, because that's the biggest number in there. You get the gist of it. Again, that's the auto sum button. And you can just hit the button, which will automatically do the math and sum it, or you can choose the drop-down area to choose other things. Formulas versus functions. So this little thing is called a sum function. Functions begin with an equal sign, then some sort of function, like sum or count or max, and then in parentheses, a range. A formula is just like you would think, a math formula. So that's going to utilize cell references to do math, but without using words and parentheses for the most part. So if I wanted to add this number, 50, to this number, 78, using a formula, I would type in an equal sign indicating math is happening, put the cell reference for the first number, or you can click on it, F18, put a plus sign, and then type in the other cell reference, G18. This is a number sentence, or as Excel calls them, formulas. Press enter, and it does the math. The cool thing about Excel is if you update a number, it updates the math. So if I type 90 here and press enter, that 128 changes to a 168. So it's much better to use those cell references in your answers instead of just typing in the numbers. And of course, you can do pluses and you can do minus. I could subtract those. You could multiply using the asterisk. Shift above the number 8 there if we were multiplying numbers. Or you can divide, which is just your little slash, like so. So all kinds of options there. And of course, you can do more than just that. You know, you can divide it and then add something else to it. Like you can continue on. So I could have F18 plus G18 minus something else. You know, F20, wherever that is, for instance. And then I can come down here to F20 and say minus 100. And there we go. Arithmetic operators, those are those things that we were just mentioning a minute ago. Plus, minus, the asterisk, the slash, those are arithmetic operators. Almost done with our introduction. Just want to show you two more things, number formats and show formulas. When you type in something, like for instance, let's say I'm typing in a specific date, like January 1st, 2020. It's automatically going to put it in some sort of format. And I can click and drag down. It's going to add January 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and so forth. But if I don't like that format that it gives me, we have a number group on the Home tab, and we can change that. So let me select all of these and come to my number format drop-down menu. And I could choose, for instance, short date, which is kind of the standard date that you would use. There's also long date, which is going to have the day of the week in addition to those. Or you can go even farther with this little button here to choose other options. But you've got that there. If for some reason it gets messed up and it's typing in something that you don't want, you can always change it back to general. Finally, show formulas. To see the formulas, because right now we know there's a formula right here, and we know there's a function right here, but we can't see those immediately. So if you go over here into your, I believe it's in the formulas tab, there we go. Show formulas is an option. If we click on that, oops, if we click on show formulas, what it does is it opens everything up and we can now see the actual formulas. And then you can toggle it back off. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see better. You can also press the control key on the keyboard and the tilde button. That's the button to the left of the number 1 on the keyboard. I'm toggling that on and off right now, and that's how I can see those functions and formulas. All right, that is your basic introduction to Excel. Poke around a little bit and just kind of see what different options that we have in there. I think that you'll pick up on it quickly. You're going to see lots of things that are familiar. Hopefully, this gives you a little bit to think about, and welcome to Excel.